my question is, what changes do you think that we will see in the industry in the next, let's say, 30 years? In fact, I'll leave the question there.
I think 30 years is a bit too broad to judge. In the next like 5 years, I'd say, I mean, the industry is definitely going to be in a bit of a boom. Like, it's definitely like a lot more people are joining the gym, I've noticed, since coming out of lockdown for us. Like, the gym's like way busier, and everyone seems to be like, all of my colleagues seem to be picking up clients like they're falling out of the sky. So I also think there's going to be a big change to online training. I feel like a lot of people are pushing towards online rather than, like, you know, being in person and working the gym floor.
Yeah, 30 years is a lot. I got to look at medical too, because there's a big medical center here where I'm at, and you always hear about like a new pill coming out for fixing this, and you know, it could go either way. There could be a lot of education towards training and how important we are. Look at the CES certification that you're getting right now. It's going to make you 10 times better of a trainer just for that. And I was telling Freddie before, it's almost like a degree, like a PT, physical therapy kind of degree, because of what we're dealing with, joints and injuries and stuff and prevention. But I think education will become huge, and if it doesn't go towards us, it's going to go towards medical. Medicine is going to become substantially greater because we're getting fatter and eating unhealthier. So hopefully it goes towards the healthier route.
So like longevity medication or something like exercise in a pill type deal.
Yeah,
people are working on that sort of thing.
I'm sure you've all heard of Elon Musk, and he's looking at getting a chip to put in your brain, or something to put in your brain that will help with like a stroke. If you have a stroke, it'll help send electricity or work with your neurons to help the side of your body that got affected. And I'm going to butcher explaining it, so you know what I mean. If that happens, if you're able to cure Alzheimer's or any sort of brain injury or just health related issue, then that's crazy. I mean, affecting the brain.
Right on that, I was gonna say, Jacob, you made the podcast. Elon was on some podcast and he was talking about that. I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably. But he says he's 5 years from that. So wild.
Well, yeah,
so do you think medicine is going to make us obsolete in time? Or
so this is
do you
kind
think
of,
our demand will continue to grow? I mean, it's 30 years, it's a long time, right? So if Elon plans to do that in 5 years, I mean, who knows what could be done in 30 years?
And like, so I think in my head, the question was kind of preloaded with stuff like automation, artificial intelligence, other like innovations we kind of haven't seen yet. And so I guess part of my thoughts were, you know, like the robot PTs, which I'm kind of joking, but kind of not joking, depending on how far you look into the future. I think there'll be a lot of like good AI stuff where actually you will be able to have kind of like an AI trainer, but I don't think that would replace us by itself at all. I think it's going to be a very human element type of job, which I actually think gives, in a way, more job security to what we do than a lot of other tasks, which literally are going to get automated off. Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think it could perhaps make us more, make the field more competitive though?
As in,
or maybe even more regular
between us and the robots, or between like just more people getting in the industry?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you know, I guess I'm thinking like if you had a computer technician or something who is operating all these robots doing surgery or whatever, it's like now suddenly you just need one technician, where maybe before you needed five surgeons or something like that. So could something similar like that happen, where now one PT can do the job of 5.
I think just looking at technology more specifically, so the first iPhone was 13 years ago, and what they can do now versus what they can do 13 years ago did not go up on a linear, in a linear fashion. So the technology in 30 years, I mean, that's also loaded in terms of a societal question. I'm pretty sure that anyone that makes it into sort of the access to technology, access to money, most things will be replaceable, will be very easily replaceable. There will be an AI PT that can look at every part of your body from every angle and map every neuron and how it's firing, and then remap them for you in 30 years. But that's only if you're one of the 1%. So sitting and I don't know about how it's going where you are and where personal trainers sit, but like where I'm Toronto, Ontario, Canada, a truck driver makes more than a personal trainer, generally speaking. A manager of a manager of a big cell phone store makes more than a personal trainer, generally speaking, right? So it's not a top tier type of job where I am. And so I think that there'll be plenty of folks in the middle class section where personal training will stay relatively similar because they can't afford to have like the Elon Musk brain mapping, reconfiguration thing.
Would they want it? Because I think they could have the first half of your crazy robot thing, I think actually would be like mass producible. But then like the second half, the like writing to your brain or neurons, I think that's going to be really like 1%y.
I see it as a conjunction too of these two worlds where you have the personal touch and the technology. So there was a small startup in San Francisco, and they had wearable gear that would tell you where you fell short on your muscle activation. So for example, if you do a squat, the feedback, it's basically a suit. The feedback would say you used more of your right hamstring to overcompensate for your weak left, whatever the situation would be, it would give you that feedback just by wearing this tech. So where I can see this going is you wear that tech and then you combine it with online and virtual reality. So you put on this suit and then you have your virtual trainer with you with your headset on, which are just light glasses, and you're training in your room with this suit that gives you ultimate feedback with these glasses in this virtual world that you just go and meet up with your trainer. So you have that combination, because sometimes you just need that trainer barking down your neck to do one more push-up, where a robot may just lay it out for you and not do more than that.
And then it really starts to blur the line, doesn't it? Because I mean, once you're in virtual reality with somebody, you're like, that it's somebody else on the other end of the line, but then there'd be people who like create ones that aren't actually somebody on the other end of the line because AI will be good enough. So you'll be like,
that's already happening.
Yeah.
Ghost trainers are already a thing.
Mm.
Right. There's already trainers booking 25 to 50 sessions a day, and they just subcontract it to ghost trainers that are not.
Wow. So people would recognize, right?
Why? It's all done through text and one-sided video, and the program design is sold by the influencer / very popular person, and then a generic trainer can just make sure you're doing it right.
Oh, so a generic trainer. Yeah. Okay. Like I thought you meant like as an AI trainer. I was like, Jesus,
no. Okay. So like, let's say I have 1.5 million followers and I have this program, and I'm like, okay, so today I have 50 sessions. Daniel, you get 10. Freddie, you get 10. Chris, you get 10. Jake, you get 10. Lindsay, you get 10. Okay, you run all my sessions for me. This is the program. You do it, right? You follow by text. You pretend you're me. Away I go. Right. So that kind of thing, already happens. But the tech is going to create a huge amount of like have and have not type of scenario. I am quite worried about what technology is going to do for our sector, but for a lot of sectors,
like wealth gap in general type thing.
Yeah, like driverless cars. It's already started in the trucking industry. It's not like driverless cars are going to lead to everybody being like, yeah, I've got my driverless car, and when I need to, I go places, etc. It's probably going to lead to a very small number of people with a very large number of driverless cars that you're going to pay a subscription to be able to use. So that when you need it, you take open your app and you go, and the car comes and you use it. And you're like, well, it's only $25 a month, so it's not so bad. But the people who actually own the driverless cars are becoming fantastically wealthy, and when they choose to jack the rates, like the Uber and those pricing models, right, when there's like a busy time and the rates go up and stuff, they'll basically have control, which is anyway. So my thinking is that we're going to see with technology over the next 30 years, the gap between those that have access and those that don't have access grow. And for trainers that sit in that sort of middle class area, the work will be relatively the same.
Well, I feel like we're already, in terms of group fitness specifically, I know that we didn't talk about group fitness, but I mean, look at what's changed even in the last year. I mean, look at Peloton. I know that Peloton or something like Peloton has been around for a while, but the pandemic really ramped that up. And now there are a lot of people that like got a Peloton at the start of the pandemic. And because Peloton with that screen, they have like yoga classes, they have strength classes, core classes, you can do the Peloton subscription. It's basically like, it really is like a home gym. I mean, can you really make serious progress and lift super heavy? No, but for the basic average person who just wants to like get relatively fit, build some muscle, like for the average person who's not trying to be a bodybuilder, something like a Peloton and the Peloton subscription, has replaced the gym for a lot of people who can afford that. So I'll say that for the people who can afford it. Like I know a ton of my friends all have Pelotons or something similar, and they do the strength classes, they do the yoga classes. So I know group fitness has really changed with the pandemic. I mean, you're always going to have the people that prefer to be in person and in that sort of environment. There are always going to be those people. But for the people, I think this is a positive thing. Like people who have found something like Peloton or one of the at-home subscriptions, it really gives an option for the people who maybe are too self-conscious to go to an in-person class or who don't have time. And so I feel like technology is making at least group fitness a lot more accessible, and just at-home fitness in general a lot more accessible. Same with like Beachbody on demand. Like that's a really popular one among a lot of my friends. I mean, I have mixed feelings about Beachbody. It really depends on the class you're taking, but echoing what everyone else said, I feel like for the people that want an AI trainer and who can afford it, once that comes around, they're going to choose that. But I think the bulk of people hire a trainer because they want that human element. They want that instant human feedback. And like we've talked about this before, sometimes people hire you just because they like hanging out with you. Like I know, Jake, you've mentioned that before. You have some long-term clients that they just feel like friends and they hire you because they like you. And so I really don't think that we're going to be like the people who don't care about that human element and that relationship element of PT. They're going to be all for the AI.
And maybe they're not, but I mean, they won't be seeing a PT now anyway. Like, and 10 years ago, maybe they'll have had their workout DVD instead of a PT. So yeah, maybe it's actually not going to change that much in that respect.
And it could be tiers, right? You pay this certain amount for the AI, and then you pay the higher tier if you want more of that personal touch, kind of like group classes versus one-on-one trainings.
Do you guys like training with people or by yourself, personally? Like if
I
you
like
could
by
train a
myself
group class versus just have someone come and train you, what would you rather do?
Oh, did you say a group class?
Yeah.
Oh no, definitely then one-on-one trainer. I thought you meant like, yeah, training by myself or like with one mate.
So say you're still doing strength training, but you've got other people around.
Like
About myself.
Well, no, then I'd like the social aspect, but it would depend on my mood and who the people
a lot of people would like the social aspect. I've got a group that calls it their therapy session. There's like 5 to 8 people, usually in the summer, and they come to hang out and then just listen to what I tell them to do. And it's after work, they all get to talk together, catch up. It's their therapy session. I think most people like that. There are a few people out of the big percentage that don't and that would do the one-on-one, but I think most people like social, like a gym versus at your home.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer, if I could, I'd be trained by a trainer all the time. That would be my number one. But beyond that, yeah, being around other people. They don't have to be doing the exact same thing as me either.
I think I prefer. I mean, maybe I'm just really antisocial, but I think I prefer just putting my headphones in and then just getting on with my workout, and then I'll go home.
But Chris, let me ask you: do you think you'd have a better workout? I mean, I'll throw myself a gimme, like with a PT or with like a group there, because having a group there can really push you harder. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, like in both of them. But
I think for me, if I had to choose between the two, it'd just be a PT, because I get quite chatty. So like, and I already take quite long rests anyway. You know, I'm not even like lifting heavy, but I'll still take like a 5-minute break.
Yeah, like the rest times go up when you start chatting.
Yeah,
We've been talking about that.
There, you know, it might be like a 10-minute rest between like my sets.
Oh my gosh,
This guy's got time when he works out.
we
You got a lot more warming up to do when you're like preset.
Like, get it done. Otherwise, I start getting distracted and talking too much.
There's some exercises I have that with exercises where you do one side then the other side. So Bulgarian split squats. So I've started putting a little stopwatch on. So like every minute and a half, I'll do one of the sides, because otherwise for some reason with that, I just take forever. Like I take almost as much rest between each side as I do between like a set of squats, you know?
This is very wild to me. Okay, how many sets do you get done in an hour of exercise? Like
Chris?
10 sets?
Who, me?
I think so.
8 sets?
It'll be sorry, go on.
No, I don't know who was talking to you or me.
Anybody. Well, the folks that are resting 30 minutes per side of Bulgarian split squats.
No. So it would still be, as in it would bring it up to like the amount I'd rest between like set of deadlift and deadlift. But obviously it can be less because Bulgarian split squats focused on like one side, right? But what I'm guessing for Chris, because I've had like sessions like this, is like only in the big boy exercises, right? It's like you're like, I'll rest as long as I like in between these sets of deadlift, but then it's like, shit, it's 10 minutes. Yeah, that's me sometimes.
That's so wild.
Like when I deadlift, say, let me think about it. Is that on average I'll do maybe about 8 to 10 sets on a deadlift.
What? You're crazy.
Well,
reps?
Well, yeah, but that's like over 2 hours.
Okay. As a whole workout,
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing. No, that's just his first exercise. I'm still teasing. Sorry.
It'll probably take me about 30 to 40 minutes to do just a deadlift at the start.
But that's pretty normal for a deadlift, right? If I was doing 10 sets of deadlift, I would I'd cry for like half the session. But
so wait, Chris, are you the kind of jerks at the gym that I like stare daggers at because like you're like the gym is full and like you know all the bench press like stations are full and you're sitting there on your phone for 10 minutes and I'm just like, I could have done like 5 sets in 10 minutes. Like get the fuck up.
You're like, can I work in? And they're like, I don't know.
No, that actually happened yesterday. There was like, it was just busy. Like there were like 6 bench press stations and like they were all full. And there was this dude just sitting there. Like he hadn't even racked the weights on his bar. He was just sitting on the bench on his phone. And I was like, are you like, can I just do like a couple sets? And he's like, I'm gonna start in a minute. And I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. And so I'm just sitting there like waiting and like literally, and luckily I ended up getting another bench. Somebody else got up, but he still sat there for a good solid 10 to 12 minutes, just sitting there, not moving. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, if the gym isn't full, like whatever, who cares? But if there are people waiting, like, come on, chop, like, that's just me though. I get really annoyed by that. So.
And always offer up the work in, like as in alternate.
Yeah.
I think it depends what I'm doing though. If I'm deadlifting, then you're not working in with me because like it's like like an exponential like growth graph kind of thing. So like the lighter the weight, the shorter my rest time. But then as I start getting heavier, my rest time gets bigger.
Yeah.
So when I've got, let's say if I'm like my ninth set and I'm like almost going like hitting like my one rep, I'll take my 10 minutes. And if you want to jump in, I'm like, I'm not de-racking the bar, I'm putting it back on. Like just 5 minutes.
I would have been like fair play, but you said 10 minutes rest and you weren't willing to do that. So I don't know about that. It's like you can do that, or you can take like, as in you can't take the 10 minutes and do that, but that's funny.
Because I don't know when I'm going to be ready. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10. I'm like, we'll see how.
This is amazing.
Some to be fair, sometimes like you do like the working in with people, and like you do have different values for like, you know, what's going to happen. Like some people are like, they're really, I've had it the other way around where people are like, dude, like, you know, I need to hit my set in like, you know, my every minute on the minute that we're working in like squats or something. And I'm just like, what the, like, what? No, I need to rest. Like you need to take 2 for every 1 I take. Yeah.
That's like more lifting heavy though. Like the longer rest time. I just haven't done that in a while because it kills me. Like my pecs will be tight for a whole week. I'll be walking like.
That because you don't do it that often as well, right? Like obviously the more often you do stuff, it's like DOMs. You don't get DOMs like when you've been working out consistently for like, you know, even more than like a month or less, even a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That being said, I do have chronic areas of tightness, so I'm probably not the best ambassador for this.
Right. Have you noticed that the more heavy lifting that you do, maybe some of you don't do, it's harder on your joints the more you do it. And I've been doing it for like 8 to 10 years of like heavy lifting until I realized I can't do heavy lifting all the time. No. Have any of you got to that point yet?
No.
Yeah, I think you just have to cycle it. You know, are you talking like 5 reps? Like how heavy?
Yeah. 3 to 5 reps.
Yeah. I think you just have to cycle it. I can't do it either. Like do a 5 rep or something that heavy for even like 2 months. I'll be burned out.
Yeah. It's just the tightness.
I'm with you, Jacob. I always love doing heavy. Try to hit my personal, you know, go heavier and heavier and try to hit that. But I realized like after a while, I'm like, I can't just always be stuck in that. So I force myself to go through 12, 15 reps, you know, every several months or so. But personally, I'm with you. I like just doing heavier weight and seeing how much more I can do.
Yeah, so I like do kind of undulating periodization, I guess you call it, I think, if I wanted to bring my fancy words out, which obviously I do. So the rep range like changes, but also I leave, since I've started I'm doing more strength training now. I used to do more hypertrophy. I'm leaving reps in the tank, like every like I'm not doing sets to failure like I used to do in hypertrophy. Like it's rare that I'll be doing any sets to failure, only in like the build up to a 1 rep max or the 1 rep max, obviously. There'll always be like, you know, on the bigger exercises, at least 2 reps in the tank. So I find that really helps. But I'm still like, you know, what am I, 28? So who knows, in like 10 years, like.
Yeah, I think for me, I just strength train. I probably have a deload week once every like 5 weeks or something. But otherwise, I just constantly like strength train, and probably every other week I'll be going for like, I'll be hitting like 2 reps, like maximum. Like maybe even like pushing my 1 rep max like every week for like a couple of weeks, and then go on like a big deload for a week. Like not really do it, like lift much, and then just go back straight into like 3 reps, 1 rep kind of thing.
And do you like flirt with failure most sets?
Yeah.
Damn, okay. But and how often are your deloads?
Then every 5.
Yeah, once every 5 weeks, a month-ish.
Okay, that's a common deload, and you take the week for a deload. That's interesting. Yeah. So lots of failure, but you take a consistent deload. Interesting.
So I'm like 15 plus years past, like older than most of you in the 20s. My only, I don't know if you want advice or care, but my only thing would be if you're doing a ton of this strength training, go do something else, like pick up a racket sport or play basketball once a week or something like that. And if you find that you're terrible, your body has terrible performance when you're doing something like a pickup game of volleyball, like you are uncoordinated, you have no balance, you don't have speed or explosive power, none of that, but you can deadlift 450, just take a moment to examine what you're doing to yourself, right? Because as you get older, that deadlift 450, because I have arthritis in several joints, that deadlift at 450, right? So I hip thrusted 450 on my 40th birthday just because I couldn't deadlift anymore because of arthritis in my hips, right? So but like you can't, like if your performance is terrible, you're my experience has been that later in life, you're going to be the rickety guy who can rack up a 250 bench press, but like half an hour of gardening just demolishes you.
No, to be fair, I do, like, since the pandemic started, probably since maybe last June, so coming up to a year, I've been playing basketball once a week for a couple of hours, and yeah, like, yeah, I mean, I've always like been pretty like generally like athletic, so I've never really had much of an issue with like performance in sports.
Good.
Like strength training in the like is relatively new to me in like my life because I've only been doing it for like past 4 years compared to like however many years I've been doing sports. And yeah, I mean, I've always been like, so like you were saying, I've not really got much of an issue yet. I am planning on slowly cutting back on strength training because I don't want to fuck myself up too much. Like I generally have like a limit for myself. Like I won't say for like bench or something. I generally won't go past like a certain number. Even if I could, I won't go past like a certain weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had a couple powerlifter trainer friends, and they are like their numbers are ridiculous, but they couldn't run up 2 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Right, and so when they realized that, they started. You could see that like the cross training started happening, and like playing sports started happening, and that had great benefits. So, can I ask a question that sort of plays off of yours, Freddie? Yeah, so not 30 years, 2022. Right? Like, what are you doing to be relevant in 22 as a trainer? Because there's going to be a huge amount of change. Different places are at different speeds. Like right now, I'm in Toronto, so right now we're really starting to see the vaccination pick up. We're at like 40% vaccinated. Toronto is does not have a lot of vaccine hesitancy, so we'll probably get to 70, 80, 90% before a lot of other places will. Not because of supply, but because people here are really, they're lining up for it all over the place. But like, yeah, what's going to happen? Like, do you think, are you going for big box? Are you going for one-on-one? What do you think is your 2022 strategy?
Yeah, well, at the minute, I work at like quite a big chain gym. I don't know if like you non-Brits are familiar with Pure Gym. No. Well, it's a
big chain in the UK, right?
It's probably one of the biggest chains in the UK. But I'm leaving here, and I'm gonna go work for like a smaller, like independent gym. So that's my plans for the rest of this year in 2022, and maybe start branching off and doing like my own solo stuff, like outside of the gym.
How big is the gym? Like, how do you measure the size of the gym? Like, what's a comfortable measurement for you?
What, in terms of member base?
If that's how you do it, member base, or there's how many 1,000 square feet, or
in terms of like physical size, I have no idea how big the gym is. It's pretty big, to be fair. It's split across 2 floors, and it's probably like about 100 meters from one end of the gym to the other.
Oh, so it's huge. That's huge to me.
It's a pretty big gym.
That's the new place.
That's the one I'm at currently.
No, the new place, the 2022.
No. It's probably a lot. It's probably like a lot smaller. Probably like 50 meters across, maybe across 2 floors. But it's kind of like a big warehousey type thing. Yeah, and the gym I'm at the minute probably has 5,000 members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really think, I think that 2022, you know, if that's a future where, you know, COVID is less of a, you know, not like it's not serious, but, you know, we're able to move around the world a lot, you know, safer. I really think over the last year, people have really felt the effects of being sedentary. You know, I think more than ever, because if you think about it, you know, if most of the population pre-COVID was pretty sedentary, think about how worse it became when all of a sudden people were working from home and were barely leaving the house. So you have people that maybe they were pretty sedentary, you know, office job, and then they would come home, sit on the couch and watch Netflix. I mean, that was my life for most of my adult life before I got into fitness. So I don't blame them. But, you know, at least they had a period of, okay, I have to get myself up. I have to walk to the car or walk to the public transportation. You know, like there's at least some movement. There's some steps. You know, you walk about the office, you go walk with friends, go grab lunch, you know. And then when that changed and everybody was just at home 24/7, I think people really, again, felt those negative effects of really not moving their body. And I know a lot of people lost a lot of strength. They lost a lot of stamina. You know, so I think that if anything, I think that 2022, so I think the rest of this year and in 2022, I think we're going to see a lot of growth in personal training and people joining gyms. You know, I know in my gym, there's a lot of people, or basically most people are coming to, you know, we're getting tons of one-on-one training clients. We're getting ton of group class clients because they've been so sedentary and they feel so icky from just sitting and doing nothing for so long. Like they want to move their bodies. And maybe they wouldn't have felt that way if the pandemic had never happened and they were still at least moving a little bit. But also I feel like, so I wanted to say something. So when, you know, Freddie asked, you know, how we think our industry is going to change in the next 30 years, at least in the next, you know, 10 to 20 years, you know, I've read a lot of information and I don't have my sources handy, but, you know, at least in the US, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but in the US, our population is aging pretty rapidly and we're going to have a serious, you know, like the demo, you know, the people, I think it's in like 10 years, like 40% of the population is going to be over the age of 60 or something like that. And there's going to be, I think it's going to be really necessary for us as trainers to have experience training people, you know, 60 and above. Again, I already have 2 clients that are over the age of 60 and they're not trying to be bodybuilders. They're not trying to lose weight. They're just like, I want to be able to get myself on and off the toilet without help as I get older. You know, I still want to be able to garden without it wrecking my body for a week. I just want to go hiking with my friends every once in a while, you know, so I feel like, you know, with that generation, you know, I feel like we're going to get a big influx of that demographic as well. So I think it's going to be really imperative that you know how to work well with senior clients. Not that being 60 makes you a senior, but older clients.
So how are you positioning yourself for 22?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I am actually looking into possibly learning more about training the older population, because that does seem to be the demographic at the gym where I work at. You know, most of our clients are over the age of 40 at least. I don't think 40 or 50 is old, but you know, we do have quite a few people in their late 50s, early 60s. But yeah, no, I don't know. I actually haven't thought about what I need to do to scale up. I'm so brand new. I'm just taking it day by day. But yeah, no, I do need to think about that.
I've not been proactive in this matter. I haven't changed any strategy for the specifics of like 2022. That's all from me.
So in 2016, I was in the process of writing a grant for the public school system here in town, and I never got to finish it, but I guess I could have it go for any sort of business that wants to incorporate like a wellness coach or a health style coach. So I know a lot of businesses around my town. I know a lot of the owners. I was part of the small business group I mentioned last week. So once COVID kind of slows down, I'm going to try and get back into that, go in with some physical therapists or chiropractors, just other health professionals that I know, and go to businesses as independent contractors and talk and try to educate. And then, you know, if they want to hire me as a personal trainer, or if the business wants to keep me on once a week for any sort of help, education, then that'd be awesome. But it's tough. And I've tried it before, and unless people desperately need it, they're not going to take extra energy out of their day, especially a business owner. So gotta work on how to phrase that or how to word it to them. But that is my goal.
So I've just realized I do have a couple things they're just not very specific to like 2022. Like you've jogged my memory, so I'm going to do. I've actually already done one. A gentle. What did I call it? A gentle seated exercise class for over Zoom for like elderly care homes in the UK. So I need to send out some emails, but I've already done one, and I'm pretty confident in my ability to run good sessions that are like interactive and that are worthwhile for these elderly care homes that charge their residents like thousands and thousands like a week. So they should be paying like top dollar to make sure that they're entertained. So that's definitely a plan for 2022. See you later, Chris.
Nice.
See you later, guys.
See you later. Chaz?
Yeah, I was
Gonna
gonna
put
say,
you on.
a similar thing for me too would be I'm very still new in this, so my 2022 strategy has just been go from 0 to 1. You know, it's 2021 strategy, 2022 strategy. I can't even think about this next step until I really have just a full launch of my online business here. So for me, it's just really building up dedicated clients, having a system for bringing in clients consistently. That is, of course, not relying on ads or paying, really knowing what I have to do and knowing my numbers. So what's a client acquisition cost, and what is the strategy that I do to get one client? So I think for me going into 2022, it's just building that system, right? Having that system that is a proven system over and over again, and then scaling that up into really a live online training business. So maybe programs, maybe books, but this one-on-one, I think this human element is just such untapped potential that more and more people are wanting in the pandemic, since everyone is at home and on the computer all the time, just that one-on-one interaction with just someone else. So building that, having these live sessions where I'm training people over Zoom, and one of my clients already, he loves it, and just having that live training session and using, of course, verbal cues, because when you're in person, you can, hey, move your arm here, but over the webcam, and it's a whole different story. Okay, move your leg up. No. Okay, reach your leg towards it. There you go. So getting good at that, right? But just in the long run, the 2022 strategy is just building a full live online training business and really having that system of how to do so.
And can I ask what you're doing at the moment? Is there anything at the moment that's like challenging you, or that you're thinking is going well, or anything like that?
Thinking going well, I would say there's still to be determined. But the challenges, I would say, are just the system, right? I don't know, like, instead of having just a client that would randomly come, or a referral, or, instead of me asking, how did I just do that? I want to know, like, that's my challenge, is I want to know the action that I have control of to be able to do to get the outcome. Just getting a random outcome here or there, it's not sustainable. You can't build something from that. So that would be my challenge.
My strategy is to just continue doing what I'm doing and hope for the best. I guess so. I think it would be hard for me at this point, like, going back and working for someone else, because I just think as long as it continues to make sense for me, and I don't need that stream of new clients, like, why am I going to go do the same amount of work for less money? So I'm just going to try to stick with the virtual thing for as long as possible. I mean, definitely some of that demand is going to end up going away, but I think what I gain in just being able to train people who don't live in my immediate area, I think can make up for, you know, what you would get out of training people in person. So, and then I have some other projects that I'm working on, like I'm working on another website, an exercise database actually, which I might need some of your all's help with in the future. But so that's kind of in the works. So I got some side projects I'm working on, but it's very, I feel like it's just go with the flow.
I don't know. I want to hear about this this database.
Oh, well, well, I don't know how often you all use exercise databases. I mean, like ACE has one and NASM has some, but I think like they're all really, really, really bad. And they're like confusing, especially when it comes to like the nomenclature of the exercises, because it's like, you know, even in our session sometimes, like one of you is describing an exercise and you're like, I don't really know what it's called. Like, let me demonstrate it. You know, there's not a lot of consensus sometimes when it comes to different exercises, like what they're actually called. So part of the database is also figuring out how to classify these exercises in a way that's not relying on just these familiar names that we might be using, because sometimes it's like, you know, you tell someone to do a bird dog and someone be like, what the hell is a bird dog? Like, I've never heard of that before, you know. Or sometimes like a certain exercise, like a tricep dip, right? Some people think the tricep dip is the thing where you're, you know, on a bench doing this number, right?
Yeah.
And then other people are doing the chest dip, right, on the parallel bars. So it's like, you know, sometimes you have two different exercises that have the same name. So that's kind of the bigger thing that I'm trying to do with the database, which I think is going to make the whole database much easier to navigate.
And definitely include a thing where like I've forgotten which one it was, when I worked in physio, is like home HEP to go or something, like home exercise program to go, where you can really easily create like a printout or PDF of like 5 different exercises with all the rep ranges, even tempo, sets, stuff like that. And then you can customize the form guide, the like default technique guide.
So what I kind of want to do, I mean, I don't want to with the exercises, like some of the exercise databases are really cluttered too, in that you'll have an exercise entry and then you have an entire page that's laying out the technique for that exercise. And to me, I think that's kind of confusing. And I also think there's just a lot of debate in the fitness industry about what the proper way is to do certain exercises. So I'm not sure that's actually fair, but kind of my hope with it is like, I might have some sort of exercise, let's call it like a bottoms up kettlebell press or something. And so the way I want to monetize it is, let's just get some trainer, let's get a GIF on the website of them doing the exercise, and then they can link to their IG, they can link to their website, their YouTube video. So if you want to get some more info on the exercise, just go see them there, you know? And then I basically charge them rent for being on my website, being on that page, or whatever I decide.
However much traffic like sees their like link, and them being the spokesperson of the exercise. Interesting.
So I hope it'll be like a win-win situation. So so that's on the web, but it's a complicated thing. So like I'm working with a web developer on this one because I don't know anything about creating databases. So but that's the idea. And I think it's like a real need in the fitness industry, because I think just, especially for the average person, like just trying to find some good exercises to do, I think can be very confused. I think at least if you're being thoughtful about it, like you can certainly just find some generic exercise program online, but sometimes you don't really understand the justification behind the exercise selection and stuff. So
no, yeah, Daniel, I think that's such a good idea, because I know a lot of trainers use Trainerize. I don't know if you guys have used Trainerize before.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, no, my
it's
friend,
also, it's very confusing, very confusing.
Very confusing, because a girlfriend of mine asked me to work out with her on Saturday morning, and I'm like, she's new to lifting and wanted some help, and I'm just like, sure, whatever, you know, I'll go with you. And like, she showed me, so she's paying like 12 bucks a month, and this trainer just like assigns her like workouts, and she's like brand new to lifting. And I looked at it and I was like, the fuck? This is some advanced stuff. Like, you should not be doing this. And like, I watched her squat, and like the trainer was telling her like, yeah, just keep adding like 20 pounds to your squat every week.
Oh.
And I looked at her squat and I was like, honey, no, put the barbell back. Like, your squat needs a ton of work before you add a single pound to this barbell. Like, I mean, I was nice. I was a lot nicer, but in my head, I'm like, oh no, please stop. Don't do that. You know, and I'm just like, and even then she's like, oh no, I learned how to do it because there's this like video, like you click on the list, and then you click on the exercise and it shows you how to do it. And for the barbell squat, which if you're a beginner, like barbell squat is like not where you start, right? And like, so she's starting with a barbell squat, and all it is the video where they teach you how to do it. It's just like you see the back of someone doing a barbell squat, like, yeah. And I was like, that shows you nothing like that. There's no cues. There's no, and oh my, I almost had a heart attack.
Is it even a real person, or is it just like an animation?
It's a real person.
Okay.
But yeah, but these trainers are out there, like, I guess making money just prescribing people these like super generic workouts.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and if I told her, it was like a list of like 8 exercises. And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, you are not doing this, this, or this. You are not ready. I was like, and I'm saying this as a friend, like, I do not want, like, you will hurt yourself if you try this. Like, oh.
But if you play your cards right, you'll be able to, maybe able to do a lot of these very, very soon.
Oh yeah, no, and I said like this is like there's a couple things you need to master first before we can get into these, you know. Like they were, yeah, like again, barbell squats, heavy barbell hip thrusts, and I'm like, no, you need to do some body weight hip thrusts first. You can't just start with a heavy bar, you know. So no, a database, that would be awesome, Daniel, because yeah, there's some
out there. As I said, because this is the frustrating thing when you start fitness. It's just you don't know anything about exercising, and you just see a bunch of different programs and you have no idea where to even start to figure out which one is going to be better for me or which one's going to be worse for me. And, you know, and then sometimes you think, well, the other option is to get a trainer, but those are expensive. Maybe you can't afford it. So I feel like there's not really a good option in between sometimes.
And to add on your idea there, Daniel, too, when you're doing those videos or having people do them, what I've seen work well, especially over webcam, is cueing them externally, right? So that was a big thing for me in my training people. You know, as trainers, we could all train each other. And if we're doing a body weight squat, you say, squeeze your glutes on the way up. And we're like, okay, you know, we get it. But with the client, squeeze your glutes, they have no reference point. They don't know what that means. So you have to say something external. And that was a big shift for me, and especially over online. So I had a client doing a chest squeeze, right, with the bands. And I could tell he wasn't doing them right. And I was like, are you feeling it in your chest? He's like, no, not really. And I told him, I was thinking, you know, squeeze your chest. That's what my brain was saying. But I was like, okay, external cue. And I said, all right, imagine there's a pencil in between your pecs, try to squeeze the pencil. And he was like, I'm feeling that. So immediately he started feeling.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
External cues are clutch when you know the pitfalls of the exercise, give an external clue, and then maybe they can try to do it on their own at that point.
Yeah, so it needs to be speaking a couple different languages, like when you want to, like like you were saying, you don't want to over flood with technique advice, but you can have like multiple different like ways of wording it if people go into the like advanced section, or like as in, you know, the more information section. I guess advanced is a loaded term. I didn't mean it like only advanced people. Also with this database thing, you can have stuff, especially if more stuff like this comes out, like voted best exercise for the posterior delt, like stuff like that. Like, what is the community's like favorite exercise for building the biceps? Like, what is the most EMG activation in some studies that haven't been like corroborated, but still, like, you know, what's the most EMG, if it's EMG that I'm thinking of, like activation in the bicep? Which exercise do people find the best one for that? So there'd be a couple of different metrics that you could sort by and like pick by. I would be interested in going to that website right now and looking at like.
Good idea. Well, the domain is called Encyclopedia Fit, but it's not active, so don't go to it.
Okay. Future.
There's nothing there. But no. That's a great idea. And then you even charge more to some trainer to demonstrate their exercise on the more popular exercise, or
if it's like
whatever to be the best. Yeah,
it's the #1 bicep exercise on your site, as voted for by XYZ, as shown in study XYZ, and I am going to offer it to Fred because he's paying me loads of money to be the trainer showing that exercise.
Yeah. So, it's also just part of like an effort to try to figure out ways that I can make money in this industry that aren't directly related to me doing one-on-one training, right? Because there's always going to be a limit. There's only so many people that I can see in one day, So, and there's also only so much that you can charge. There's only so much you can charge too, right? So, just figuring out how to diversify that a little bit. So, I'll definitely keep everyone in touch. Because I would love for some of you to demonstrate some exercise for free, of course. It has to get started before it's famous, but yes. So I think it'd just be a great way to drive traffic to our industries. Yes.
Yeah. No. So yeah, Daniel. I mean, I'm sure you probably would, because based on the limited knowledge I know about you, you sound pretty cool. Definitely aim to have like a diverse amount of trainers, like trainers of different body sizes, body types. Men, women. Different ethnicities, because so many of this is the most shameful thing I own. Are you guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
Don't judge me. Don't laugh at me, okay?
Oh, I already saw a bit of it.
The Men's Health.
Yep, I have it too.
Just because sometimes you're trying to write a workout and you're like, oh, fuck, what's a good shoulder? Or like, oh man, we've done so many. Like, what's something I haven't thought of?
This workout doesn't have enough abs in it. Damn it. Where's my Men's Health book?
But look at this. It's just some shirtless dude, and all of the exercise are shirtless dudes. Shirtless white dudes. And I'm just like,
it's even funnier when the exercise database has an illustration, but it's just some like gargantuan guy that they've illustrated here. Like nobody even looks like that. It's just really, really weird. And it's just that one sort of animated fictional character that's doing all the exercises. It's very weird.
Well, people are like, if you can get like that, then maybe if I put in barely any effort, I'll get to looking pretty good.
Yeah, so I want it to be definitely like super diverse for sure. It's just, whatever trainer wants to demonstrate this exercise. And as you all know, I mean, there are just tons and tons and tons of exercises there. I feel like new exercises are still being invented all the time, because some exercises are kind of even just theoretical until someone figures out how to do them. So, so there's just a lot of variations. So for sure, but
it's a place where we can, go on, Lindsay. Sorry.
I was just saying, to piggyback off of what Chaz said about the queuing with what did you call it, Chaz? Like the external cues?
External.
Yeah, those are huge. And I'm always like, if you guys have any little cues that aren't like, oh, engage your lats, everyone's like, what the fuck is a lat? They don't know. Like, honestly, if you told me to, I could barely, I don't know. But no, if you could put that in your database too. Yeah, like I said, pretend there's a pencil right here and you're trying to squeeze it, because I feel like most people who are new to this, unless you started with fitness when you were in, high school and you were into football and you had to do conditioning, unless you've been in this for a long time, you don't know the different, what's a lat, what's your traps, what's your triceps. So, and they say this in business too, just a general sales rule, stay away from jargon. It confuses people. It makes people feel stupid, and it's it's okay. Most people don't know the names of their muscles. So I use if you guys heard me training, you'd probably be like, she sounds like an idiot, because you guys know all the, because I'm always like, okay, we're going to use I want you to clench your butt. I'm like, okay, you're going to feel this on the upper outer parts of your legs. Again, I know what those muscles are, but my clients don't. So I'm always using very non-technical terms. And actually, Adrian, I stole your deadlifting cue. You're holding the tray of drinks and you open the screen door with your butt, or you close the car door with your butt. I totally stole that. So, and actually, I give you credit. I'll be like,
did they hip hinge though?
They did.
They did hip hinge. Surprise, right?
Exactly.
Just adding on to that, just super quick. one way to help you with external cues is to have 2 or 3 activities in the world that match that exercise, right? Like I have for the nerdy client, what's a push-up, what's a bench press? You're pushing a zombie away from you. Zombie apocalypse, right? It's a push, right? You have like funny things or more appropriate things depending on what the person does, right? Just have a couple of, so what's a deadlift? You're gardening, you're picking up a heavy stone, like just having, right? What's the pull down, right? The lat pull down, you're kind of like playing peekaboo over a fence, right? Can you do that? Can you pull those elbows in and look over the top of the fence? Just having that. And I have to go pretty soon, but I was hoping somebody else would say that they're going to open a studio or something, or a physical space, but it did. Nobody's going that way.
I would not rule that out. At some point, my dream actually,
but
my
not
little
2022,
dream,
right?
Well, I mean, probably not. Yeah, probably not. But it'd be like a little place where I live on top. It's just my shitty little room and like a shower and stuff, and then like big old gym downstairs that you can kind of convert into it's got the big TV for like the gym TV, but then it's like,
that's like the start of every fighter movie, Freddie. The trainer lives upstairs, and Rocky and everything, all that.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the 30-year plan. That one.
Because I just got a studio going, and of course the worst possible time to get it going, and so I'll let you all know how it goes. I mean, it's going pretty okay, all things considered. I definitely make more than when I was managing at a big box, but yeah, that's like, I think that's a great place to, like, even if you wanted to have that online presence, Daniel, like a place to film and a place to do all those exercises. Like I have a couple folks that they have a YouTube channel, Train Fit Life, and they film in my space. So, and they're friends, so they, like, I don't make very much, but anyway, having a physical space, if it's something that you're interested in, I'd be happy to chat about.
I'm in New York City. Those little cubby spaces are too expensive, out of my budget.
Right, and that's, well, you just do the math for how much it costs, right? Like, what do you need?
That's true. That's true. My biggest thing would just be with COVID. Even though I would be surprised if they closed off more things at this point. It seems like more and more things are reopening. It would. Yeah. It still seems a little risky to me to open up a space and then it has to get shut down.
I would say it's
but yeah, it would be great. It'd be great. Maybe not 2022. Maybe 2023.
I would say at some point, Adrian, definitely like a 5-10 year after we get this going a little bit, bring it in person, find that out. But I'm curious, man, before you head out, what's your 2022 vision strategy?
Yeah.
So I have the space, and I'm going to finally be able to really open it up. And then I have a couple of like singer and TV clients that are in shows, etc. And Netflix just announced Toronto as their headquarters. So I'm going to try to get the niche, the word of mouth, and the advertising. And again, I have a couple clients that are going to help me get in there. But to have, because my space is 400 square feet, if it's a trainer and a client, it is spacious and amazing. There's a microwave, there's a fridge, there's a tea kettle, there's water in the fridge, there's like tons of space. You're not waiting for anything, right? Like frequently when I'm with clients or setting up in there, right, I could very easily like have the next exercise set up while we're doing the one. Anyway, so long story short, that work my niche for my own personal clients, and then also pair with a couple of trainers that want to use the space. So training, because it's all code numbers on the doors. So when they want to use a space, they just code their way in and they pay me to use a space to train their clients. So seeing about that sort of like boutique-y private studio space for training. Because I don't like online. I've done so many hundreds of sessions because like we shut down March 13th. I had an online session like March 14th. Because I love training, so I just never stopped. Like, okay, we're not allowed to meet. All right, see you on Google Meets. Let's do this. Let's see you on Zoom, right? Like, I just kept going, but I hate it. I hate online so much.
But real quick, you know what? One thing that no one's mentioned is for 2021 or 2022 is us starting a podcast and monetizing this.
Yeah.
No one's brought that up yet. Just saying.
Yeah.
I don't think we wouldn't need to change much. We just need to get the audio quality sorted and like making sure people mute when they're like not talking and stuff like that. I don't think I uploaded the most recent one, but I've been assuming that nobody's been using the files, but I've still got all the files if people want to use like the old material from what we've been doing. And I actually uploaded one as a podcast on Spotify. So I'll link you guys. I called us same on the YouTube thing. I called it the Council of Coaches. So,
Nice.
so yeah, and there's like a really low effort logo as well. So like
That's amazing.
In fact, wait, I'll see if I can get it up on my phone.
Fred, oh my gosh, you didn't tell us.
No,
I've
yeah,
gotta
it's
go,
so
everybody.
it's so low key. Oh yeah. See you, Adrian. See
Bye
you
for
soon.
now.
Yeah, let me show you guys this this logo if I can find it. Council.
Because I was thinking like about starting my own podcast, but then I'm just like, well, I already talked to you guys and you guys are fun. Like, why would I reinvent the wheel? And also, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So,
Nice.
oh my gosh.
So it's just
That's great.
It's super low effort, and it's just one. It's just like one of the. It was the exercise. It's the session where we did the Q&A. Like it was a bit more official. But I need to get around to uploading some more. But I just thought it's so like it's literally no different than the one I uploaded on YouTube, but just has this like logo thing. But yeah.
If we do decide to do it, it's going to have to be a little bit more concise, and it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
going to have to be episodes. I remember, Fred, like 39 days ago, you uploaded something to Reddit, one of the ones that we talked about, and I just read through some comments on somebody who gave you some ideas for it. But yeah, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes max, because people just won't listen for that long. And then how do we cut it? Do we cut it? So
Yeah, it would need to be like more succinct. Like these are like I think I'll upload the ones that I've been uploading on YouTube, but under like this thing. But yeah, they're not exactly. I can't imagine somebody randomly finding it and listening through the whole thing when it's just like us like chatting. But yeah.
right, so definitely interested in it. We talked about it a few weeks ago. But how do we go about that? Do we have 5 people, 6 people, 7 people trying to talk all at once, or do we do smaller groups? Just, I don't know.
I think
Play devil's advocate a little bit as well in the longer form. Personally, I love long form podcasts, listening to it. Like Joe Rogan's is 3 hours. You got Tim Ferriss's 90 minutes, and the ones I'm not necessarily sitting in front of my computer watching it, but I'm doing the dishes. I'm going on a walk. I'm driving. And just like it in the background of just because from my perspective, I love listening to people in podcast form because that's usually when they give the key nuggets that I take away. In a course or something like that, it's so specific and so you don't know what stands out. But when someone emphasizes this point, you see the patterns emerge. So for me, I like the longer form podcasts. Of course, whatever happens with it happens, but there could be space for the long form.
Yeah, my issue with it though, even let's take your case. You like the longer form, but not somebody you don't know anything about.
That's a
like
good point.
you even like
That's
you're like Joe Rogan or whatever, and like these are loaded people in your head. They're not like a fresh. That's not a cold person, So yeah, but I agree. Like long form can be great.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's a way that we could, like we could still meet like we normally do and maybe have like, a 20-30 minute recorded, like we basically like record the podcast again, have a specific topic. We don't have to be like, I think we can still be conversational about it. And maybe work together to sort of make sure that we're only talking one at a time. But no, I feel like there's a way for us to manage that and then possibly continue on a conversation unrecorded. Like if we just wanted to talk more about, our goal, sort of, because I really see this for me, this is like water cooler talk, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is something I'm not getting at my gym because I the other trainers in my gym, we're just like ships passing in the night. It's like, it's always like, if I'm showing up, somebody else is leaving, and it's just, I get a second, I get a minute or two. but like, this is my chance to like talk to other trainers, learn more from you guys, talk about like what I'm dealing with, you know, just so I feel like we could possibly turn this into a podcast, you know, for a little bit, but then still have our time that we're not worried about a format, or, you know, that we can still just connect with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you'd have it actually like segregated into time where it's like, this is the podcast, and I think that would work. And then on top of that, we'd need like we need a specific structure, like everybody knows what questions coming around, and it would have to be a situation where I mean, it would still have to be a situation where I think things get cut out, because some people, definitely not me, just start rambling on. Like, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes, like right now. But yeah, no, so structure.
You know, I mean, yeah, I'm not an expert in podcasts, other than I do listen to a lot of podcasts. And Chaz, I'm kind of like you. I don't mind the longer form ones, depending on the topic. I mean, if it's long form and they're just talking just to talk, and, you know, I'm just like, all right, dude, come on, get on with the point. But you're right. But if it's something I'm interested in, yeah, I'm all about. Bye, Daniel. Yeah, no, I think, so yeah, you know, we can always play around with it too. You know, like we could experiment with a shorter one, or we could alternate. We could do like 1 week is a short one, and then the next week is a long form deep dive on something. You know what I mean? I feel like there's definitely room to experiment.
Yeah,
you know,
like, and I'm up for anything like that. Like any like thoughts of turning this into that, I think can only be good, because we can still like, yeah, it doesn't what's the word, preclude us just like chatting the shit. Can be at a separate time or like cut out or something. But I mean, I think already the conversations are kind of, yeah, I mean, I think just a bit more structure in the conversations, and we're kind of would be there. I mean, I'll upload a couple more of these, but if you guys want to do something like better, because this is kind of all I did, I added a little thing where I'm like banging the table, so it sounds like a gavel, but it's awful. It's like a glass supplement bowl on like a table, so it's like yeah, so we'd want like actual decent, like we wouldn't want to do it off my one, like I'll upload ones on my one, but if we wanted to do it good, it would need to, yeah, it's not like, that's not good.
And I know I'm just new coming into this, so I don't mean to put my voice out there where you
no it's still like, you know, we're yeah, interested in hearing.
But I like the idea of having that concise podcast structure, and then still having like the mastermind think tank group where we could just shoot the shit, where it's just us chatting, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jake,
sorry, I cut you off there. Yeah.
Well, is it going to be towards trainers, or is it going to be towards the general public? Could we do both?
I think that's a big question, and I think it should be towards trainers actually, but I don't know.
Okay. I wouldn't mind doing both, because as like somebody who's interested in fitness, just the topics that we talk about for exercises or something more towards the general public, I would still listen to. So I don't know. Maybe it's all one and the same, but I think structuring things towards personal trainers, talking about progression and how to make more money in social media, that's a whole separate category. But talking about exercises, how to do exercises, that can still help me out, but it could help the general population out too.
Yeah, so I think in terms of like exercises, I think the general public would like to be listening to the one where it's coaches talking to coaches about how to do it, because it feels like it's a level up. But yeah, with like the marketing and stuff, they're not looking for that. So we might have to class stuff where it's like, you know, technique oriented, because I'd be more interested in hearing like, so I drum, I'd be more interested in hearing like a drum teacher try to teach a drum teacher than I would like a drum teacher teaching a student. Because it's kind of like, in a way, it's like another tier up in a way, if you guys get me.
Right.
But with marketing and stuff, yeah, that's an issue. Like you're just like want to learn about your like squats, and then it's like, right, so how do you freaking market and stuff?
Yeah. So I think what would be a good answer is, what are the whole group interested in? You know, would we rather talk about how to get clients, or what we're doing with our business, and other trainers listening in, or would it be more interesting to talk about the exercises? And I think that could be a good way to determine, you know, whatever we want to do.
Yeah, what we actually like. And I think I can't remember that well. I could look through some of the timestamps. I think that we have quite a good mix, or quite a balanced mix, I should say. Yeah, I think we've got quite a balanced mix. We talk about. I can't work out if we're biased towards one side, which might mean that I just have a bad memory, or I think we mix it. It's quite balanced.
Well, yeah, I think we have an opportunity as well to like bring on guests. Like I know there's a friend of mine I really want to bring on. I haven't asked her yet, and I wanted to ask you guys first, but I have a friend who recently started her online business as a trainer. We have a totally different demographic, so we're not really competitors, but she does it completely online, and she's actually doing really well, and she does a lot of really cool stuff, and she's brand new at this. Like not like she's been doing this for 20 years or whatever, like, and she's I don't know, I think she has a lot of really good ideas. She uses social media really well, but yeah, I've wanted to bring her on for a while just to talk about like how she built her online business, because she does a mixture of like group classes and one-on-ones and stuff like that, and she's really personable. So I've always I've thought about bringing her on as a guest.
Yeah, definitely a special guest. Yeah, I've got a couple of trainer friends. I should ask them as well, or even as like permanent, you know, like people who can just like dip in when they want, or just like the one-off. Yeah, as long as we don't absolutely like there's just like 8 of us like drilling them with questions. They're like, geez, this is 7 more people than I want asking me questions right now.
So if you put that in a 20 to 30 minute podcast where it's you and your friend and Freddie, and the rest of us are just kind of listening in, maybe posting questions to the chat, that would give you guys, because Freddie, you talk a lot, but you're also a great host. I would not consider myself a great host. I can't ramble on very well and make just common conversation. So it would leave you guys to open conversation, be able to talk a lot about it. Lindsay, you know the person. And then whenever it's time for a Q&A, you have questions from us, the trainers, that you can just answer. Yeah,
so actually numbers wise, whoever like if we think it's going to be like a too many cooks thing, actually the cooks can kind of be those cooks, to stretch the metaphor, can be the people asking the questions, like ask actually really insightful questions in theory. And we could rotate that, including me being out of it as well.
Yeah, I like that idea, Jake.
Because we all have our own expertise. Like Freddie wants to talk about corrective exercise, then he can talk to me all he wants. Adrian's got a ton of experience with like his long-term doing a whole bunch of different things. So I'd be interested to sit and listen for 20 to 30 minutes about Adrian just talking about things, his experiences. So,
right. Well, Adrian also has an interesting story about being an IT manager and then making that transition into. I'll take this one. Thank you.
Is this your special guest?
There's another special guest.
Sorry, Chaz. I have 3 kids, so sometimes they make guest appearances.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, that's a great idea, Jake. I think that, but here's the thing too, because I struggle with this, so I'm totally projecting my own issues on you guys. I'm a serious perfectionist, and I'm always worried about, okay, if I start something new, it has to be perfect right off the bat, and we have to like thoroughly plan it out. And it's like, I think with something like this, we could try to come up with a solid plan, but then just experiment, you know. And if we try one format and it turns out like, oh, this actually didn't work out, well then great, you know, because there's no money on the line per se. Like we won't necessarily start the podcast with dreams of making a ton of money off of it, but you know, it could end up, if we get some advertisers or something, you know, we could monetize this. But I mean, and it would be a fun thing just to put on our websites or our social media, like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this podcast, and so you can catch me here.
Yeah, That, like we could already do that. If you think the kind of if any of the uploads are like particularly good, or segments of them are good, you could like link them. Or like people were suggesting, like when like the files I like from the YouTube or from my like Google Drive, just cut a bit where like you're the main person talking, and then everybody's like listening to you, and you've said something like insightful, like, you know, every now and then I might say something insightful, who knows, And like, then it's like you on your social media and like a bunch of other coaches like listening and being like, damn, yeah, that's, but what I would say also is it might be useful for us to have somebody recording it. Like I record it in gallery view. It might be really useful to have somebody else record the meeting, but have like the one person talking as the main event so that it's like nice high quality. But that's something that would potentially be useful, I think. But it's kind of a tangent.
No, I think that's great. Maybe we should start like a Google document, just a
shared one.
Yeah, shared one, and just throw up ideas and start to flesh this out.
Literally a document. Yeah.
So actually share create like a Google Doc, share it with everybody so we can get everybody's emails, and then we can throw up ideas. Because but this also doesn't need to like, okay, we're starting next week. This can be let's talk about this. Let's come up with a couple weeks worth of topics and formats, and then just give it a try. You know what I mean? Like we can just experiment. And if it turns out that we don't like it, nobody wants to listen, then okay, well,
Yeah. And I suspect it would be pretty hard to get something like this off the ground. I think it's easy, what's it called? Survivorship bias, where like you see all the successful like Instagram accounts or YouTube accounts or whatever, and you think like all these accounts I'm seeing are like successful. It must be not that hard to be a successful account. And it's like, no, the reason you're seeing them is because they're successful. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think there is a bias, and it would be difficult and maybe take some monetizing or some clever kind of reach and marketing. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool thing. Like I haven't seen a thing where it's like a whole bunch of coaches, a whole council of coaches, a whole council.
Well, and I really think we can start by marketing it on Reddit, because so many people, I mean, think about like every other post on our personal training is like, hey, I'm a new trainer and I have questions about this, or this, or how do you get started with this, or so, I mean, I feel like we've got quite a few people. Like if it was in a nice, tidy podcast form, I think just on Reddit, we'd have a great way to get started. We'd have a somewhat of an audience. And then if we each promoted it within our own circles, we'd have people, because I know I have a friend who, he's actually a client of mine. He's my client who bought a bunch of sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And then doesn't. Yeah, Chaz, you haven't been here. I have a friend who I'm learning now you don't train friends. Because I have a friend who bought sessions from me, and then he's disappeared, which is fine. I guess I'm paid, but I'm just like, what do I do? Do I harass him until he books with me again, or do I just let him go? But he actually started his own podcast. Oh wait, what, Chaz?
That's a tough predicament.
Yeah, and in fact, he texted me last week and just said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm still alive." And I'm like, how do I respond to this? I was just like, "Hey, I'm alive too." Yay!
And I'm ready to train.